Hello, hello. I'm Reverend Tomas Garza. Welcome back to A Course in Miracles 365, Awakening to Love. All right. Who's ready to awaken to the truth of who you really are? Every virtual hand should go up. And if it doesn't, all right, no problem. I invite you to stay tuned anyway, because I'm going to say something that is going to benefit you. What will that be? I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to say in this next sentence. I really don't. What I have before me might be a pile of papers on this thing called a desk, which is off camera. I've got this thing called a computer propped up against it with this thing called a microphone and a camera. And what you're looking at is just a projected image on your screen. I don't have a set of notes in front of me, but I do have the book, A Course in Miracles, open to the Manual for Teachers. Question 18, which is where we find ourselves today. How is correction made? Ooh. Yes. How is correction made? Now, you may be experiencing some resistance to the very word correction, to the idea that it represents, meaning that we've made a mistake. We have. It's called ego. The ego. It is a simple mistake. If you take nothing else from this broadcast, it is not a sin. Identifying with an individual sense of self does not make you a sinner. God has no ego. Therefore, how can God possibly be offended? Let that one sit. Yeah, sit with that one and sit with it again and again. And notice whether you have any resistance to that. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. If you do, that is the ego attempting to get you to go back to what we call in the world your comfort zone, which of course is not comfortable. Otherwise, why would you have this broadcast on in the first place? Why would you seek out spirituality unless you knew in your heart, in your core, in your gut, deep, deep down inside that there is a better way? Oh, yeah. Let's explore that together, shall we? Right now. Because you're right, there is. So we're on question 18 here in the Manual for Teachers, and it's a really good universal question. How is correction made? Honestly, right? Great question. How is correction made? So we're talking about correction. This is the operative word. What causes a large amount of ego resistance is the fact that the ego, and maybe you exhibit this throughout your life, the ego wants to be right. Do you always want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Would you rather be right, or would you rather be happy? Would you rather be in the right, or would you rather be safe and sound? I think of that every time I hop on the freeway and see some really erratic, irresponsible driving, and people that would probably rather get into an accident and be right about it than avoid the accident and let someone in traffic. It's the ego that wants to say that Jesus is wrong, that wants to say that I am wrong. It's that is threatened. A false sense of self, which is a mistake. What happens when we make a mistake? Well, we can choose to correct that mistake. If we don't know how, we can ask how to have it corrected. We decide that. We decide to ask for help. We decide, we ask to be shown where we're going off target. The ego doesn't like that, wants you to stay off target. Listen to it as a guide, only as we discover throughout life, it has no idea what it's doing. And your inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, your guide, your guides, if you are not following A Course in Miracles, your higher self, the universe, whatever you call it, it knows. Trust it and ask to be shown. There is no sin. God has no ego. Therefore, how can God be offended? You are sinless. You may not have been raised to think that way. I certainly wasn't, but you are. So I hope that you take some comfort in that. I really do. This is an idea that bears repeating over and over again, isn't it? So, how is correction made? Well, it is correction of error. So, how do we do it? Well, we make a decision that we're not going to confuse illusion with truth any longer. We're not going to confuse what appears to be our reality in the world, what we call our reality, with the truth that you are the Son of God. You are the thought of God, the extension of God. This is who you are. It's who I am. It's who we are. There's one of us. One. Not two. Not 8 billion. One. So let's start with that premise. Now, the Manual for Teachers puts the answer to this question, how is correction made, in the context of a teacher-student relationship. So we'll say a couple of words about that. Understand that this applies broadly. We're talking about some foundational principles of this thought system, of the thought system of A Course in Miracles here. It's just an FAQ style presentation here in the manual, which is pretty cool. It's very different than the text. It's very different than the workbook in form, yet the content is the same. That's a theme, by the way. The content is the same. The form differs. That's it. That's all. The outward form, the appearance. So what Jesus is saying here is we make correction by not confusing illusion with truth, and we don't respond to illusion with anger. We talked about this a little bit in the last video, and it's a very, very important point that we should really, really digest for ourselves here. Anytime that we respond to illusion, say something someone says on social media, with anger, we're making it real. We're making it a thing. I find that general word here in the 21st century in common parlance, yeah, well, don't make a thing of it. It's a thing. Oh yeah, this is a thing. Well, we make a thing, a thing. When we react with anger, it's, let's say someone posts something that we deeply disagree with, and it's hateful and villainous in our opinion, and wrong, and well, it's not loving, which anyone can tell. And we react to it by posting back. Even if we don't do that, if we think in our minds, what a scumbag this person is, what the actual Why is this person saying? What a ridiculous thing to say. Is that not making it real to you? Yeah, it is. It's making it real to you. So, how do you respond? Well, this is where we need to repeat ideas and practice because we need really to make this a habit here in the world. Otherwise, we're continually reinforcing the supposed reality of whatever it is they're talking about, say politics, for example. It's a perfect example of ego dynamics at play because you have people defining and defending personal territory, which is what the ego compels us to do, is to define ourselves as this political party, as this jurisdiction, right? As this version of this political party, at this gradation on this imaginary scale that we freaking made up. Is that real? No, it's an idea that human beings made up, and we defend what we believe to be the truth like dogs. How do we know that it's not the truth? It is not all inclusive, it excludes, doesn't it? God did not create it. God did not create political parties. He did not create political systems in which people grapple for this illusory thing called power, which is a complete illusion, isn't it? It's an idea. And understand that you may appear to wield it one minute, the next minute you don't. This is what happens when we side with the ego, is wild inconsistency at best. At best, it's wild inconsistency. It's why nothing lasts in this world, including the world itself. Let that one sit. So we learn through our practice of spirituality, through our practice of forgiveness, not to respond to people's crap with anger. Very, very important. Now, as a teacher of God, it's my responsibility, and as really applies to anybody. I'm talking about all of us here. Whether you hold yourself out as a teacher or not really doesn't make any difference. Our job here is to accept atonement for ourselves, to accept correction. Another way of looking at that is to accept healing, isn't it? Atonement is one of those words, and it's capitalized, capital A, here in A Course in Miracles. We are we are to really accept atonement for ourselves, accept correction, accept healing. What happens then? We give healing. That's our job here. Now, I could say a great deal about this idea, and it is the subject of many other videos here. So if you are really interested, deeply interested, and you want to research the idea of atonement as it's presented and practiced in A Course in Miracles, there are multiple online resources, some excellent articles, some excellent books, and quite a bit of really, really wonderful commentary out there. So I invite you to investigate more, because what is spirituality but a process of investigation, isn't it? It's good to question things. It's good to question this broadcast. It's good to question me. Oh, yeah, please do that, right? It's good to question this course, but be honest with your questioning and extend this thinking, extend this questioning to everything that you now believe. And don't stop short of that, or you will limit yourself. It's the ego that sets and places limits. It's that defining and defending of personal territory, saying, I'm this political party. Here's what we collectively stand for. And then there's everybody else. Right? It's why I continue to use this as an example. There are many, of course, examples of ego so-called dynamics. There are a lot of things and situations in the world where we can see the ego's thought system at play. In spirituality, what we're doing is we're opening up some space, so to speak, a gap in our own thinking, a gap between a stimulus, like reading someone's hateful political post, and our response, which is go to hell, whether we write back or not. We've thought it. How is that not responding to an illusion with anger? I mean, really, we do it all the time. It's so tempting to do, isn't it? So this is all about developing a new set of habits. A Course in Miracles aims to reverse the thought system of the world. We're invited to choose differently. And that choice is available always, always. If you haven't chosen well, if you've chosen really poorly, maybe, and gotten into a heated argument today, whether it was in person with someone that you live with or your kids or something like that, or whether it was on social media, or whether you even thought, man, this person is just a piece of work. What the hell? Even if you've thought that, right? So what if you have chosen the ego in the past? There is an opportunity right now in the present moment to choose yet again. And this is the opportunity that we're invited to pay attention to and to choose different. You don't have to choose separation and suffering. Let's let this one sit and repeat it. You don't have to choose separation and suffering. You don't have to. I invite you not to, please. Thank you, as always, for joining me here today.